Day 3 PDAC on the floor, talking to Dr. Mark Cooksey from ABx Group. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks. Nice to be with you.
Well, Dr. Cooksey, what are your goals here at PDAC this year?
Yeah, so we're an Australian-listed company with a focus on rare earths, and so the goal at PDAC is really actually to meet with potential customers. We intend to produce a mixed rare earth carbonate and sell that to a separation plant, and so many of the customers are here at PDAC, so it's a great opportunity.
We've been following the rare earth industry since 2008, but we don't really know that much about ABx Group. And I was just mentioning to you before we started this interview that you're in Tasmania. Can you give us some of the high points and compelling reasons why all of us should just drop everything we're doing right now, go look it up, ABx Group?
Yeah, well, there's three really good reasons. So the first is we've got an ionic clay project. So ionic means low-cost metallurgy. Most clays don't have that. Ours is similar to what's currently processed in China, lots of heavy rare earths. Second is actually, our ionic clay has some of the highest proportions of dysprosium and terbium of any clay worldwide. And the third is where we are in Tasmania. So Tasmania, on the southeast edge of Australia, famous mining area, been mining for over 100 years. And we're only 50 kilometres from a major town, close to infrastructure. So we have the potential to get up production of an MREC relatively quickly, relatively low cost, and that's what we're aiming for.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, we have location, we have ionic clays, and we have magnetic materials, right?
That's right.
And of course, I recall now that we were introduced through one of our CMI directors, Jeff Adkins, and you had an MOU with UKOR.
That's right. So I'm an engineer, so one of my first things with a project is, okay, what are we going to produce and who are we going to sell it to? And through people like Jeff Adkins, we've met companies like UKOR. So UKOR, Canadian listed, planning to build a separation plant in Louisiana, and very strong alignment. So they are looking for an MREC, preferably with high heavy rare earth content. We are producing an MREC with high heavy rare earth content, looking for the right separation plant to separate that into rare earth oxide. So yeah, we entered a MOU with UKOR in 2024, and part of being at PDAC is to meet face to face with them again.
Everybody's looking for what ABx has. What is your timeline for production?
Yeah, so another advantage we have is we actually started life as a bauxite explorer. We've mined bauxite in Tasmania, and we've got a bauxite resource co-located with our rare earth resource that's at a very advanced stage of approval. And so part of our strategy is to get approval for that bauxite operation, mine the bauxite. That'll actually expose the clay layer underneath with the rare earths. So there's some logistical synergies, and also synergies with regulators and the community. We've already shown in Tasmania we're a good operator. And we expect our bauxite work to do that again. So all that's conducive to a quicker timeline. As the precise timeline, we're looking ideally to be in production in a couple of years. Even if it's just at small scale. When I talk to customers, I say, how much volume do you need to be, material? And they say, whatever you can get us. Customers are crying out for MRECs with dysprosium and terbium. That's the critical edge that we have.
It certainly is a critical edge. So where are you at right now in the process? Are you seeking funding, or what's going on?
Yeah, so we've got a resource that's certainly big enough to start an operation. We're continuing to explore to grow that resource. We've done the metallurgy work to show that it's ionic, and now we're doing the engineering studies to work out the ideal project design. So yes, we've got some funding, but we're always looking for more funding for sure. That would accelerate the process. The opportunity here is to be fast. Customers and our societies need more rare earths, particularly with the heavies, and that's what ABx can deliver.
Of course, the US and Canadian government are both fans of UKOR. What about you with government funding?
Yes, so we're well connected with the Australian government. I was meeting with all the various Australian government departments in Canberra just a couple of weeks ago. We've met with US and Canadian government departments as well. In fact, the Canadian Prime Minister is just touched down in Australia, I think, as well. So, but again, our strategy is to engage mainly with the customers, like UKOR, and then together we present those relationships to government to say, look, we've got a value chain here. We just need your support to help get it up quickly. That's the strategy we're following.
Well, we at the Critical Minerals Institute believe that a lot of the government officials and representatives don't necessarily understand the difference in the rare earth, so they don't maybe appreciate how special and unique that ABx Group actually is in comparison with a lot of the rare earth companies.
Yeah, that's right, and I think and that's it's complex, right? I mean, like even us technical people in the industry, it takes time to get that understanding. So again, rather than us ABx just go to a government and wave our flag and say we're ABx, we're great, help us out. Part of it is to develop those really strong relationships with customers, so that together we present a case to governments and it's a more credible story. If you've got multiple parties saying, yes, here's our entire value chain from the ABx mine through to separated oxides through to metal, I mean, I think if I was the government, I would be receptive to that coherent story, not just individual companies coming and asking for assistance.
So, what's next for ABx Group shareholders, say in the next quarter?
Yeah, so it'll be things like more exploration results, more metallurgical results. We've got companies now evaluating our MREC. We've produced samples of our MREC, and we've actually got some very positive feedback from customers that we hope to analyse and provide to the market. Results of economic studies, so that we can come out and say we think our preferred project design is XYZ with these costs, and hopefully commercial agreements with customers. We've got the one MOU with UKOR already. We're talking to many other customers, and certainly hope to execute some of those and announce those to the market when we can as well.
So for those of you interested in finding out more about Dr. Mark Cooksey and ABx Group, please go to the following website. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you enjoy the rest of PDAC.
Great, thank you, Tracy.